What's up, YouTube family? I'm Rick with Daddy Time in the Kitchen, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm making a gumbo that includes seafood as well as chicken and sausage. This is a gumbo that we've been making for the past, this is going on actually year number 8. It's a New Year's tradition for my family. So sit back, I'm going to show you the ingredients that I'm using and then we'll get... All right, for today's ingredients for the gumbo, I'm using parsley. For the roux, I'm using oil, and this is vegetable oil, and flour. I've also diced up one large white onion, one large bell pepper. This is celery, some green onions. I have okra. I also have some smoked sausage, and this brand is actually Uncle John's. I know for traditional gumbos, most people use andouille sausage, but I didn't have access to that. So you can really use any smoked sausage to your liking. Uncle John's is very flavorful, so I love using this in my gumbo. These are some diced chicken breast. I have large shrimp. I also have 2 lobsters, and I will dice those up to go in the gumbo as well. And some king crabs that I'll be adding. Some minced garlic, Everglades seasoning, slap ya mama sauce. I have some black pepper, some Worcestershire sauce, stewed tomatoes, a can of stewed tomatoes. And I also have 3 bouillon cubes that I will use just to season to taste. I may not end up using all 3, but I'm just going to start off with that. All right, so the first step that I'm going to take is to brown the sausage, and you can see I have these cut up into circles, and mine are cut a little bit thinner than normal. I don't like the large chunky pieces. Again, you go with your preference, but the preference for me and my family, we like to have ours on the thinner side. So I'm going to brown these up first. I have my pot on a medium setting, and again I'm just going to get a nice brown color on the sausage. And then Alright guys, my chicken is in the pot, and again I just want to brown it up a little bit and have it just really benefit and take advantage of all of the flavors that have been left behind by the smoked sausage. It's really your choice. I mean, you don't have to brown your sausage, you don't have to brown your chicken. You can just dump it in your pot, but I like to do mine this way and just take this extra step. All right, I'm back, and the next step that I'm going to take and show you how to do is making the roux. Now, the roux is the foundation of making gumbo. It gives it the thickness that you're looking for, and it gives you the flavor. And without the roux, you pretty much just have a soup. So with the roux, in order to make it, it's simply 1 part flour and 1 part oil. So I have a cup of vegetable oil, and I have a cup of all-purpose flour. And the roux is really just a labor of love. It takes a while to get it to the consistency and the color that you're looking for. Now with your gumbo, you really want to have that dark chocolate flavor of your roux. And sometimes that takes a while, depending on the type of pot that you're using, depending on the wattage of your oven, depending on your experience level. It can take anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour to make. But again, the key is just to go very slow with it, and you have to continuously turn the roux. If you stop and you let the flour settle at the bottom of the pot, then it's going to burn and you have to start all over. So I'm going to go ahead and start by just pouring this 1 cup of oil in. And one of the other important things is you don't want to use a thin pot. You want a a heavy pot when you're doing the roux because it does tend to heat up, and you want a pot that can handle that heat. So this is a heavy bottom Dutch oven pot, and it's going to handle that heat very well. So now I'm going to pour the 1 cup of flour in, and throughout the entire process, you have to keep stirring. That is the most important part, or most important step, is that you have to continuously stir. And again, you're looking for a dark, rich chocolate flavor, or color, I should say. Just going to keep adding a little bit at a time. And I have my stove on a medium heat setting. You don't want to cook it too fast because you run the risk of burning. And again, you just have to keep stirring continuously because you don't want that flour to settle at the bottom of your pot. Notice I'm using a wooden spoon, and you can use a wooden or rubber. And the reason behind that is that so that it doesn't scratch the bottom of your pot. You can see that the flour has started to dissolve. And again, I'm just going to keep stirring because I don't want any. All right, you can see the roux has started to darken up a little bit. It's almost there. Again, just have to keep stirring so that it does not stick to the bottom of your pot. You don't want that flour to settle. But I think we're about halfway there. All right, guys, it's been about 15 minutes, and I just want to show you the progress. You can see it is almost where we're looking for, that dark brown color. And again, the darker your roux, the richer the flavor that it will provide for your gumbo. So I'm just going to keep stirring for a few more minutes, and we're about 95% there. All right, I think we have arrived at the color that I'm looking for. This is a nice dark brown color that I'm looking for. And this was this is the most labor intensive part of making your gumbo, but it is the most important. So that's why you have to really take your time with it, get it to the right color. Again, the key is to continuously stir all throughout the process, because once the flour settles at the bottom, your entire roux is ruined and you really have to start all over. All right, so the next step that I'm going to take is I'm going to add what they call the Holy Trinity. And really, it's just your onions, your bell peppers, and your celery. So I'm going to just let those saute in the roux for a few minutes until they get nice and soft, and then I'll show you the next step. And again, throughout this process, I just kept my pot on a medium heat. You just have to play around with your stove and see what works for you. Again, the key is not to get discouraged, because in the beginning, it may seem like it's going to take forever for your roux to start turning the color that you want it to and getting this nice rich brown. but just be patient with it. Take your time, especially if it's your first time. You don't want to rush it. Just take your time and you'll eventually get there. All right, so I'm going to add my onions next. And you want to keep stirring during this process as well. And I've lowered my temperature down to low because, again, this heavy-duty pot holds heat pretty well. So I put my stove setting back down to low because I don't want to burn the veggies. Next, I'm adding my bell peppers. All right, finally, I'm going to add the celery. All right, so I think these are nice and sauteed and soft enough. So the next step, I'm going to take 4 cups of water. And I'm just trying to get some of that excess roux off of the side so that it doesn't burn. All right. I'm also going to add my chicken back in that was browned originally. I'm going to add the sausage back in. And you can just see the nice flavor that the roux has given the gumbo already. And the nice color that the roux has given the gumbo. All right, next I'm going to start off by adding 2 of these bouillon cubes, and these are beef bouillon cubes, and then throughout the process I'll just taste it to see if I need to add any more seasoning. During the last step in this phase, I'm going to add this can of stewed tomatoes. What I'm going to do next is put the top on, let it come up to a boil, and then turn it down low and let it simmer for 45 minutes. And I'll be back and show you the last and final steps. All right, hang in there with me. All right, fam, before I let it boil, I forgot to let you know that I've also added 1/4 cup of Worcestershire sauce, also known as the W sauce. So I'm going to add that in there as well. Give it a nice stir. And this smell is already amazing. My kids are in the background giving me thumbs ups because they can smell it throughout the house. All right, I'm going to put this top back on, let it again come up to a boil, then simmer for 45 minutes, and we'll add the next ingredients after the 45 minutes is up. Hang tight. All right, it's been 45 minutes, and I'm going to just check. And you'll notice what I've done is I've transferred it from my heavy Dutch oven pot into my stock pot just because I started running out of room and I still have to add the crabs and the shrimp and the lobster. So I wanted to make sure that I had plenty of room to add those remaining ingredients. I also ended up adding the 3rd bouillon cube just to give it some more flavor. So I'm gonna hold this up so you all can see the color and the flavors, how they blend it together. All right, let me try and move that. All right, so that next step, what I'm going to do is add the okra. And I have 2 cups of frozen okra that I'm going to add in here. And I'm going to let this simmer for another 30 minutes. And the okra also serves as a thickening agent. It gives it that nice silky texture as well and flavor. You don't necessarily have to add okra, but my family loves it. You know, a lot of people don't like the slimy texture that okra has, but a way to get rid of the slimy texture is to just saute it in a pan for a few minutes, and it'll get rid of that slimy texture that's on the okra. So that's another alternative just in case you have any issues with the slime that's on it. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and let this simmer for another 30 minutes, and then I'll be back. All right, about 30 minutes have gone by, and the gumbo is still continuing to simmer very nicely, and it's thickened up a little bit with the okra that's been added. So my next step, I'm going to add just 1 teaspoon of this Slap Your Mama sauce or seasoning. And this, the brand that I got is the very hot brand. So I'm not going to put too much in there. We don't like a lot of spicy foods, but it'll just give it a slight kick. And then next, for 15 minutes, I'm going to put the crab legs in. And you'll notice what I've done with these is I just cut the legs away from the body cavity so that we can fit more of them nicely in the pot. And it also, by cutting them away from the cavity, it's going to allow, you know, all of the juice and the flavors from the gumbo to be absorbed in these crab legs as well. So I'm going to go ahead and drop these in here for about 10-15 minutes. All right, the crabs have been simmering in the pot for about 15 minutes. So I'm going to check it out just to see how everything is going. And everything is coming together nicely. So my next step, the lobster tails that I had earlier, I just went ahead and took them out of the shells and chopped them up. So this was just 2 small lobster tails, and I'm going to go ahead and add this in there for about 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, I'm going to come back and add the shrimp for another 5 to 7 minutes, and I'll show you that process as well. All right, I'm going to let this simmer, and I will be right back. All right, so our 10 minutes is up, and the next step, I'm going to go ahead and add my shrimp. And shrimp really don't take a long time, so that's why they are a part of the last step. I'm going to keep these in here for about 5 to 7 minutes. And shrimp are very easy to overcook, so you just want to keep a close eye. Once they start turning pink, they are done. So again, it'll take about 5 to 7 minutes in here. And then I'm also going to add a little bit of parsley and then save the rest for garnish at the end. And also a little bit of the green onions that were chopped up. And again, I'm going to save some for garnish as well. All right, let's take a look in here. I just want you all to see this. It is just full of flavor and goodness in there. And you can see the shrimp are already starting to turn color. So I'm just going to cover this and let it simmer again for about 5 more minutes. And I'll show you the finished product. All right, guys, so this is the finished and final product. This has been an absolute labor of love, but it is well worth it. I'm sure your family will, or you or your family will definitely enjoy this dish. Again, the most important step is when you make that roux. You just have to really take your time, continuously stir throughout the entire cooking process, because once you get that straight, then everything else falls into place. Gumbo is usually better on the second day once all of those flavors get a chance to rest overnight and get a chance to really know one another. So I encourage you, or I suggest that if you are going to make this dish, that you make it the night before or the day before that you're going to serve it, because it is definitely better the next day. Daddy time in the kitchen is up and my time is over. So I hope that you enjoyed this dish. Please like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell, and I'll see you next time. Take care.